You know, the people have a question about the kind of barley.
Okay.
For example, optics or bare barley or golden promise. Mm-hmm. So do you feel the taste is different in the barleys?
Okay.
It's very hard. I know it's very hard to.
No. Everything has an impact.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, you know, the shape of the stills and the length of fermentation, these are the big ones. The oak type that you put the cask into. Okay. And we spoke a bit about the toasting and the charring mm-hmm. and the different shells. Different yeast types, so on and so forth. If you think of it as a hierarchy, mm-hmm. the big things at the top and then the little things at the bottom, barley will have an impact, but for me, there's other things that have such a much bigger impact mm-hmm. that are taking over. You know, fermentation time, yeast types, and your cut points, just to name three, that would probably overarch if the barley is having mm-hmm. a characteristic impact. Have peated barley and chocolate malt and you roast malt, they will do something different, but if it's all like for like, I think it will have an impact, but not as much as everything else that is going on. Mm-hmm. So we use Diablo and Laureate mm-hmm. and we flip around based on efficiencies mm-hmm. and how it processes. So sometimes you'll choose a malt because you can put it through the plant easier. Mm-hmm. It will mill easier, it will drain easier, so on and so forth. So for me, that's the mindset for malt, is how efficient it is and how it works with your plant. Mm. It should work with your plant very well, yeah. rather than a taste.
Is this too long for you?
No.
It's okay?
No, it's fine.
So.
Great, keep going.
Yeah.
This is why I came, John.
The Bladnoch 11, I didn't taste 13 before. Maybe tomorrow we can taste it. So I love to Bladnoch bourbon cask. They recently have a problem about the barrel rinsing. You know, it's some.
Rinsing, yeah.
Could you have a effect to make a bourbon cask whiskey in the bourbon rinsing?
Yes, the rinsing effect was found out 15 years ago, something like that. I can't remember when we first started mm-hmm. to see these come through. And what we did notice was it took out more flavour from the cask. Mm-hmm. So when it came to come into Scotch, it was almost like 1.5 fills or 2 fills. Mm-hmm. It was different. So it didn't mature. It didn't extract as much mm-hmm. as an unrinsed cask did. Mm-hmm. So. For Bladnoch's point of view, we say we don't want rinsed casks. Mm-hmm. So we have unrinsed select casks that come into Bladnoch because we know that they've probably got an extra X% of flavour still in them because they're unrinsed. Mm. Yeah.
Same context. Recently, we can see the 100-liter bourbon barrels. So how do you think about the 100-liter, like Garrison Brothers or Yellow Rose?
So experimentation is great, and that is surface area. Mm-hmm. So be interested to see it with an American cask, because I've only ever really seen smaller casks made out of Spanish oak, mm-hmm. which is quite intense. Mm-hmm. Basically, you extract faster because mm-hmm. you've got more wood mm-hmm. to volume surface area ratio. So you can pull out more at a faster rate. But go back to the finishing question. Mm-hmm. You need the subtractive and the interactive aspects of maturation to go through. So I think be interested to see how long they leave them for.
Yeah. Okay.
I'd be interested if they get them to 10 years or 20 years. Mm-hmm. I'd be interested. Or if they're first and second fill, or if they're second or third fill, maybe they add a bit of a rounding component to a whiskey as well. So
okay,
interesting.
So let's talking about more the wood type. So the Irish or Japanese, says they can use some other oaks, cherry oak or some other types. So how do you think about the Scotch? You need to the maturation in other trees in Scotch whiskey? You want it or
No.
No.
I wouldn't. I think we've got the Scotch Whisky Act, and what that does is set out the protection mechanisms for Scotch. Although they can be limiting sometimes, and we inside will push the boundaries, they're there for a reason, because Scotch is seen as the most, is the first, it's seen as the most sought after. And I think that needs protecting, and I think if we start down the road of different wood types as well, I think it might be a slippery slope to not being Scotch. I think we should protect it, and we're very good at doing it.
Yeah, it's just, you know, the people sometimes like the imagine about the maturation in like other wood types.
Yeah.
So they imagine the taste is like different.
Yeah, and that's good, and that's okay for different categories. But I think Scotch whisky probably doesn't need to taste different. It needs to taste like Scotch, and I think that's why people buy it. That's why people want to buy it, because it's got that history, it's got that heritage, it's got that way of doing things for over 200 years, 250 years more. And I think that is why Scotch is Scotch.
Okay.
We don't need to.
Yeah.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So we can try things, and behind the scenes we do try certain things to understand how our process works. But then we make sure that Scotch is protected. I think that's important.
Yeah, that is like a traditional.
Correct.
And then trustable.
Yeah.
The Korean whiskey, Taiwanese whiskeys are challenges in the Scotch whiskey industry.
They are, but I also say whether it's Taiwanese or Korean or Japanese or Australian or Indian, everything is always compared to Scotch. But I always say, great, but Taiwanese whiskey, be Taiwanese whiskey, whatever that is.
Not prepare the Scotch.
Yeah, don't compare. Yeah. Don't compare to Japanese. Be Japanese or be Taiwanese or be Australian. Write your own. We've got the Scotch Whisky Act. There should be an Australian Whisky Act to protect that, because whoever's making it should stand up and be proud of it. And I think that's important. Not to just always, we can make a good whiskey just as good as an 18-year-old Scotch. Just make your whiskey. It's a good whiskey. It doesn't need to be, to handcuff itself to another region. So I think there's some great whiskies out there.
Yeah, I know about some businessmen. They're using like a different, and then sometimes they say better than Scotch.
I understand the quick sales pitch.
Yeah.
The quick one.
Or, for example, quick maturation, like in the United States, like
the rapid maturation,
extractor.
In 10 minutes.
Yeah. Did you taste it?
I've tasted some, but
okay.
But it's, no, I'm fine to answer. But I've tasted some, but it's not taken 18 years to make, and it's not taken. Well, when you look at an 18-year-old Scotch, I'm not just picking Scotch, 18 or whatever. Well, number one, it's taken 18 years to do it. That's a lot of money. Number two, it survived 18 years, which is a miracle. Okay. Number three, 20 people maybe have made that whiskey, have been part of making that whiskey over 18 years. And then it's taken everybody between Scotland to wherever, to Korea. Whether it's been logistics or distribution or media or whatever, to get it into someone's glass, and then someone's enjoying it.
Yeah.
So the amount of people and time and patience to take it, that's what it takes to make the 18-year-old. And again, the rapid maturation is rapid maturation, that's great. But there's no need to compare it to an 18-year-old Scotch. Just say it is rapid maturation. That's okay.
Exactly.
You drink that. That's good.
That is kind of marketing, and then quick sales.
There's a sales story. Someone said, "Don't ever let the truth get in the way of a good story." And I always said, well, if you can tell the truth properly, then there's no need to do a story.
Yeah. So today we are discussing about the tasting notes. So how think about, we don't have any licorice in Korea. The wood spice. So especially Christmas cake, pear. So sometimes we are very hard to understanding the official tasting notes. So maybe it's not only in Korea. I think the same problem in Japan or Asian. So how's about make a tasting note more generally?
Generally, so it's always a difficult one because we haven't got licorice. We have licorice in the UK and we have licorice in Korea, but they're different things.
Yeah, very different.
So very difficult to get a universal taste note, especially when I write them. I write them for what's real in my head, and I write them from my own experience of what I know and taste. And I think there's the authenticity of that is important. So I'm just writing what I'm thinking, and I do use some weird descriptors sometimes. I once used upside down cake on a waterfall, and everybody in the office didn't know what upside down cake was. But I also think that having to translate adds to it. It helps everyone try and understand everybody else's taste as well. Peat is a great example. Peat in the middle of India doesn't make sense because there's no peat there. So peat doesn't make sense in a lot of places. Smoky does, or generally, whatever it might be. But I think be authentic with the tasting notes, because that's what people are asking for. They're asking for me when I write them to tell me what you tasted, and then everyone else can have their own tasting notes. So my tasting notes aren't gospel; they're more of a provocation. So if you don't get all the tasting notes that I write down, that's okay. You'll interpret the ones that you get, and you'll write your own tasting notes. So there's no guru, there's no master. It's more a starting point for people to try and understand.
Yeah, because recently we starting to the blind taste and then the GC the analysis. So the first whiskey was Highland Park 12. In the official notes, they said the Savior Orange.
Yeah.
And then in the blind taste, no one choose the orange taste, and also no one choose the toffee, and no one choose the peat. So slightly, totally different.
But that's okay, because they're just describing what their experience is.
Yes, the people cannot understand toffee meanings, the orange meanings, because we know the orange, but what means the Savior orange?
Yeah, different.
Yeah, different. Yeah. And also peated, the Highland Park, they using the peat, but very low level.
It's also different. It's a different.
Yeah, so very hard to find it. So
peat,
the people find the peat, not peat, like a sulfur.
Yeah.
They think about that is peat.
Yeah.
It's very hard to find some correct note. It means very hard to enjoy to whiskey. If you buy some whiskeys, you can see the tasting note on it, and the people drink it and disappointed on the tasting note.
And it's trying to just, there's so many different languages and taste profiles around the world. Smooth. When people write smooth, it doesn't mean anything. Smooth means, when people say it's smooth or harsh, I hate that as well. Smooth, all smooth means is I like it. And harsh means I don't like it. That's it. You can't bottle smooth, because you might find something smooth and I might find it harsh. It's exactly the same whiskey because you've got a different palate to me, you've got a different mindset to me, a different background in terms of all the flavours that you've ever had. Something really peppery and spicy might work great in Moscow, but might be smooth in Moscow, but harsh in London, because they've got different ways of thinking about things. So smooth and harsh, it's just I like and I don't like, and it's going to be very difficult to get universal. All tasty. If you did universal tasting notes, it would probably be apple.
Yeah.
Even chocolate. Chocolate, you couldn't write chocolate because there's different chocolate around the world based on how sweet and dark the chocolates are. So I think it'd be very limited, and I think we should just try and understand that the tasting notes that I would write, or any master distiller writes, would be a starting point.
Yeah.
You tell us what you think now.
I just want to help to Korean whiskey lover to help tasting, because
we do a Korean special. We do a Korean single cask that's got a Korean taste profile.
We need
maybe a way of doing
so
that.
we try to. Many people try to translate the correct tasting note from the English to Korean.
Yeah, it doesn't translate perfectly.
Yeah, but everybody almost failed.
Yeah.
Because the licorice is totally different.
Yeah.
The pear is different.
Very different.
Yeah.
Well, so a way through it might be we do a single cask for Korea, and I'll write some tasting notes, and we'll try and translate. And where it doesn't translate, I'll write some more and make sure that we've got a full tasting note that does translate. And it's a special. But also remember,
Someday you can choose the single cask for Korea.
Exactly, we'll do that. But also, we take it too seriously sometimes. Do you enjoy it?
Yeah.
There you go. That's okay. Cheers. We'd enjoy it too much as well.
So return to the Bladnoch. You released recently 8 years old. So 8 years will be the core range, or not yet?
Yeah, well, it's the start of the next part of the core range. So the next part of the core range will start with 8. That will become a large part, and that will continue on over the next 5 to 6 years, and we'll build that. And that will be our double matured range. So we'll spend some time in one cask, and then we'll turn to another cask for a double maturation.
It's a sherry to sherry, bourbon to bourbon.
X to Y.
Okay.
So the 8-year-old though is red wine to red wine. So it's a double red wine maturation. So similar to the 17, but amplified. Very strawberry jam, quite herbal. It's pretty intense in that sugary and herbal note.
Okay.
Because it's double matured. So the 8-year-old will become the starting point of the next part of the portfolio, the core range.
Now we have many non-statement core range like a Samsara or Alinta. So it will not change too much, right?
The ratio of age to no age will change, but they'll still grow. They'll still grow. So I would say in probably 5 to 6 years' time, it would be 50% aged, 50% no aged.
Okay.
In terms of our volume across the world. Yeah.
This will be great.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
if you help out.
So the last question is your recommendation without Bladnoch whiskey for whiskeys the beginner.
And no Bladnoch.
No Bladnoch. Okay, one Bladnoch.
For a whiskey beginner.
Yeah.
Who doesn't drink whiskey.
Yeah.
No whiskey drink.
Let's start to the single malt.
Okay, start with single malt. I'll pick. Honestly, I'd enter in Vinaya, but I'd have Vinaya as a highball. Get used to it, and then have Vinaya as a single. And then
no Bladnoch.
That's my one.
Okay.
You said one.
Okay.
That's Vinaya, but 2 ways of having Vinaya.
Okay.
And then so entry in.
Okay. So expensive one is okay, no problem. we can recommend it 18 years old.
So in my head, if you want to get into whiskey, you need to get used to the whiskey flavour. You need to get used to woodiness. So coming in with a big Macallan 18 that's too much.
Too much, okay.
Too much. Or any peat. Something like a Balvenie 12.
Barley 12, okay.
Kind of nice, refreshing pineapple kind of note to it as well. Perfect entry.
Okay.
Nice and easy entry. Now, don't spend too long, then jumps in. But once you get the appreciation for woodiness on your mouth, I'm assuming they don't drink rum or anything like that. Once you get the appreciation for the kind of the tannic aspect of whiskey, then you can move pretty quick. So I would go Vinaya and Balvenie.
Yeah, I recommend it.
I've got a pension in both.
Yes, so both of them is the blended like a sherry and bourbon. The bourbon is also.
Yeah.
So potentially, how's about the old ones? So the people sometimes they love the refill old, like a 30 years old. Well, some people like overcooked the sherry old ones. So if you find some cask in the overcooked, so what you do that for to solve the problem?
Use it. Use it quick. But you blend that with when we talked about the bad casks. There aren't any bad casks. You might put that with something that's outperformed. You might put with something that's underperformed and balance things off. As these casks go through the years, and you draw down each product. Well, that's not going to come across on camera, but like a pension, and you're drawing down the pension. The casks that end up are the ones that weren't ready at 13 or 16 or 19 overnight, because they were probably refills or poorer first fills. So when you get to 30 or 40 years old, they are generally underperforming first fills or refill, something like that, because if you let a first fill go to 50 years, it'd just be like chewing a bit of wood. It can go way beyond it. So they're not, ironically, the casks that make it to super age are the ones that didn't work. They're the leftovers to a certain extent, but they become amazing just by default because they're that long. But yeah, they're the casks that weren't picked before.
Okay.
As you draw your pension, it's the leftover, it's the bits.
Thank you for today.
Thank you for having me.
And then I'm very worried about the masterclass because my first time in the translators and the leading the masterclass, so I need your help.
You worry too much. You worry too much.
Okay. So see you tomorrow.
Speak to you tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye-bye.